Hey, real quick, make sure you subscribe, like, and follow this podcast anywhere you're listening to it. You can leave us a 5-star review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. That kind of stuff really helps us out, so we appreciate it there. You can follow us on Instagram at Gear and Beer Podcast. If you like the music that you hear in this episode, there will be links to my music anywhere that you're checking it out in the show notes as well. So until next time, enjoy the podcast, keep jamming, and we'll see you.
Gear and Beer.
Welcome back to Gear and Beer. Today, our guest is Eddie Haddad from Houston, Texas. Eddie.
Yes, sir.
Cheers. Yeah, baby.
Cheers.
Yeah. We got Lyndon McCarty twisting and tweaking back with us. Welcome in, everyone. Welcome in. Or however you say that. I don't speak German. I will take a little more overall level if that's okay. Eddie, what's up, dude? Thanks for coming.
Man, thanks for having me.
Hell yeah.
It's a pleasure.
Did you get enough to eat? Everybody get enough to eat?
Man.
Absolutely.
I guess we ran out of tortillas. So
I mean, I didn't. I think you should go make it again.
I will.
Yeah.
No. I don't have any of that stuff left, so you're going to have to eat what's up there, I guess. Anybody interested in all the bullshit that I made can look at it on Bobby Jam's Kitchen.
First time having green chorizo, man. That was something straight out of Dr. Seuss.
Dude, so there's in the pandemic, I got into this guy. Are you a sports guy at all?
No.
Okay. Do you know who Skip Bayless is?
No.
He's a pundit. He's
okay. Commentator?
Yeah, he's got like one of those scream about sports and coffee shows on like Bally Sports or Fox Sports or whatever it is now. Anyway, he's a giant asshole, and I've had enough of him for a lifetime. But he's got a brother who is a really thoughtful, amazing, researched chef specializing in the cuisine of Mexico. Not so much Mexican food, but like the regional cuisine of Mexico from all the different parts of Baja and Oaxaca and whatever, have you. So I found this recipe from him. It's green chorizo. It's super easy. It's fresh sausage. You get ground pork, parsley, cilantro, roasted poblano peppers, jalapeno, a little rice wine vinegar, and salt. Wow. You puree it. You mix it with the pork. You let it rest for a couple of hours or even overnight, and then you just cook it like you would ground beef in a skillet. Done.
It was fan-freaking-tastic.
It's good.
So good.
And it's got nice, good, fresh herbs in it, so get some benefits. I mean, I don't know. But anyway, so you brought a bunch of badass guitars. We just filmed a jam where I played this guitar. But tell me about this guitar you're holding since you're sitting there holding it.
Yeah, man. This is my number one. This one's called Old Soul. It's a build by Ian Anderson, who's out of Oceanside, California. Dear friend of mine. And so I'm kind of representing his work. And also they're just some of my favorite guitars,
Yeah.
So this one in particular is based on a model he makes that he calls the Standard, but it's essentially a 50 spec Les Paul shaped like a Telly with a stop tail, and it's amazing, man. So there's actually a pretty cool story with this particular one. So it usually takes a while to make them, and so I was at the time pretty broke, but really, really wanted one of these. This was like maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, and I wanted him to give me an estimate on how long it would take and see if we can work something out, as far as like me kind of pay him in installments kind of thing. But he happened to have the body of this thing It was already assembled. It just hadn't been buffed or painted or anything.
Okay.
And it was just sitting there, and it actually was spoken for at the time, and I didn't realize that. So when Ian told me, I was kind of like, damn, all right, well, I guess I'll have to wait. And then a little bit later, he tells me that the gentleman who was originally going to get the guitar, that owned the body, got hit with a neurological disorder. Ooh. And he's no longer able to play guitar.
Rough.
Which, man, it was heartbreaking to hear that. And I was just like, man, that really sucks. And so, I'd kind of asked him.
Tumble of the dice there.
Seriously, yeah. I mean, that's just like just my worst nightmare just thinking about that. But
let's not talk about that.
Yeah, okay. So I asked Ian, I was like, man, do you think it would be possible if I got his blessing to buy that off of him, and you can complete that guitar and I'll have it, only if he's cool with it, because I know it was a sensitive kind of situation. So long story short, he circles back with me a couple days later, and basically said that I got his blessing for it, and I was like, you know what, man, like, I want him to know that every note I play on this guitar is going to be dedicated to him, like, for the rest of its life. So the fact that he was able to do that for me was awesome. And so this was built a lot quicker, and Ian assembled it. He was actually he hand delivered it to me. He came to Nashville, and he was in the airport still like buffing it, and like to the very last second, bringing it over. And yeah, man, this guitar is only about 2 years old, maybe.
Okay.
But I mean, it's got some miles on it, and
it's cool. The Les Paul facade and the telly shape.
Yeah, man, I like the proportions too. The way Ian does it, to me, they're the most pleasing. He makes the pickups too. I mean, and he uses.
That's gonna be my next question.
Yeah. So he makes the pickups. It's a Brazilian board, Honduran mahogany. So just he makes them right, and so this has kind of been my number one, like, double humbucker set neck guitar.
I was in until you said it was Honduran mahogany, and I'm just not in on Honduran mahogany.
Fair enough. All I know is that's a.
I didn't even know that was a strain.
Yeah, I mean, well, apparently,
is that how you say it?
Apparently, it's what Gibson used back in the day. So it's
an old tone wood.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. And I mean, he uses hide glue and all that.
Let me ask you this: do you know if it's old wood or if it's new growth?
I have no idea.
Okay.
It feels
It would affect the density of the wood, because the way they grow them, like, somehow faster these days, and the wood's less dense than the older trees of the same size.
So is it like when wood dries out?
It's like one of those giant tomatoes. The same thing.
Okay. Now I see it. Oh yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's all right. Maybe made from a tomato tree. But yeah, I mean, it's just I don't know, man. A buddy of mine, John Newsom. He's from DFW.
I know John.
You know John? Okay.
Yeah.
He actually,
we're like best friends, but I know John.
Yeah,
I spent at least one evening with him at Red Door, with him and Dusty Gregg.
Nice. You got to have him on here too. He told me every time I play this, he's like, "You play differently." When I play this guitar, which that meant a lot, because and I didn't even realize that, but it just really does. Guitar feels like home, and so it got the name Old Soul, and Ian did like this cool, like, walnut veneer on the headstock, but also made me the truss rod cover there with his name on it.
That's
so
dope.
Yeah, man, it's a cool guitar. I'm gonna have to put this in your hands so you can play it before I head out today.
I was about to say, why don't you just turn it on and play it for a second?
Yeah, sure. Okay.
I'll be back in 20 minutes.
It's very resonant, even like just acoustically.
What? Yeah, it really is. What's the signal chain? Is there anything on?
Right now, it's just amp and the dispatch master. So just
gotcha. And this is a 65 Pro reverb in the 2-verb setting in the aux box.
Just has a nice piano-like kind of low end to it, and yeah.
It almost has like I don't even know, not compression, but like it's like a natural kind of I don't know. No, it sounds like compressed, but I know it's not compressed.
Yeah,
we're not running this hot enough for it to be like
I mean,
compression, really.
humbuckers have natural compression.
I guess that's true. It just sounds really nice and even, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
It is a really balanced guitar, which I like.
Yeah, I definitely have to play that before you leave. This one played great.
Yeah, I brought a smorgasbord of
Yeah, you brought a whole
stuff.
dang...
whole stable.
Yeah, and they're all Ian Andersons?
All are Ian's builds, yeah. And that one in particular, I've told you the story on that one, but I'll recount it for you if you want, on how that guitar came to be that indirectly involves Walter Becker of Steely Dan.
Oh, yeah, let's hear the Walter Becker story. Let's go.
Yeah,
1,
sure.
2, 3, go.
Okay, all right. So Walter and Ian were good friends. Ian built a bunch of guitars for Walter, like somewhere upwards between 10 and 20 or something. And
a regular number.
yeah, and the last few years of Walter's life, his favorite guitar was one of Ian's builds. It was actually one of these. It was a standard cherry burst one.
How long has he had it? Do you know? Did he have it? And
he had it at Coachella. He had it. He actually did a spread in Rolling Stone magazine where
he had it for 10 years.
I don't know about 10 years. I want to say at least 5.
I feel like he was playing some sort of cherry telly when I saw him, but it was like 2011.
Okay, I mean it's possible. I know Ian's been building, for a long time.
Right on.
But that, I mean, even Walter's wife was talking to us at his estate auction. She was saying that that was the guitar he always went for when they're just hanging out in their living room. He would always have a guitar to play on, and he always reached for that one, which is really cool. So, needless to say, that guitar ended up, auctioning off for a lot more than the rest of them. But
right.
So there was this auction house called Julian's Auctions in Beverly Hills, California. I was living in San Diego at the time.
I'm having a nightmare with my ears. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Be all fidgety.
No, you're right. You can still.
I got all twisted up. It was like pulling me backwards. Okay.
Yeah. So we.
I'm sorry. So what? No.
That's all right. We
Julian's Auctions in Beverly Hills.
Yeah, we like skedaddled over there from like 5 in the morning because it was a Friday.
You skedaddled.
We did.
Are you kin to the lady that I'm sorry to do this yet again, but I texted this to Lyndon. I went to the grocery store today and I bought this beer, and the lady ID'd me and said, "There you go," and I said, "Thank you," and she said, "Yipper dipper doo." I just like stood there.
Is that what skedaddle reminded you of?
Yeah. old people.
Yeah.
Placeholder. Slang from ages past. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but
like nincompoop?
I don't think I've ever heard yepper depper do before.
I definitely haven't.
Yipper dipper do.
You're going to hear it all the time from me.
Good.
Yeah.
It's going in the lexicon.
Bring it back.
That's right. Yeah, make it the new TikTok trend.
Bring it back to the future, bro.
Walter
Becker. Sorry,
no, it's all right. We hightailed it to Beverly Hills from San Diego on a Friday, so it was about a 5-hour drive with traffic, and it was just insane, right? So we the auction started at 10 o'clock. We made it there at 10:02, and we're just like huffing and puffing to the auction house. We get in there just in time. It's starting. I sit in the gallery. I grab my gavel. So I got my gavel in this hand and my phone in this hand. These are key details. So I sit down, I'm catching my breath, and I'm recording, like ready to go, because I know they were going to start the auction and they were going to start with the guitars. In fact, it was like a 3-day event where there were 600 guitars alone in the collection that were being sold. I'll have to show you. I have the it's like bigger than a Bible. It's like the coffee table catalog of it.
That is a
hard
lot
copy.
of guitars, bro.
Yeah. Tell me about it. And so I'm sitting there, right? Got my gavel in this hand and my phone in this hand. Ian gets up to get a cup of water. And then
I'm sorry. Okay. How would you get anything done if you had 600 guitars? I would spend all day, every day going, "Oh yeah," and then I wonder
changing strings, just the maintenance.
No, I'm not even that, because I don't have hands like you, so my strings would be fine. But I would just be like, I wonder, and then I would go pick it up and be like, "Oh yeah," and then just be a feedback loop of that for me for forever until I died from lack of sustenance.
Yeah, I mean, Walter's a special kind of guy, I guess. I mean, he definitely was.
That's so many guitars, man. You literally would have to play more than 2 a day to play them all in a year.
Yeah.
With no repeats.
Yeah.
Better not have a
There's some
favorite.
stringent rules to justify keeping a collection like that. But I mean,
They're
I mean,
investments.
from
Too bad he didn't cash them in before he passed. But I guess he was using them, or maybe not.
yeah. Well, I mean, I've talked to people who know him, and he especially liked like obscure boutique kind of brands. You know,
So he's like a New York, like an artsy
yeah,
Tom Morello.
kind of. I mean, like if you saw the different types of guitars he had there.
I'm sorry, man. I'm absolutely killing me tonight.
You're doing great.
Thank you. I'll be here all night. Try roast beef.
It was, I mean, it was really cool. He had a very interesting collection of guitars I'd never seen before, and
You definitely got to show me that catalog.
yeah. I may have showed it to you, Lyndon, when you're. Did I
think
not show it
so.
to you when you're at the house? Okay, we'll have to change that.
I do wanna
I'll
see
bring
it.
it. It's it's heavy. It's like the book. It feels like it's
I'm
5
trying
pounds.
to even. Yeah, it's like a bunch of pages of guitar.
Yeah. And so anyway, I'm sitting down. Ian's getting water. He's out front, and then I'm recording. And then they immediately start like auctioning off the lots. The very first one was that Cherry Burst Standard. The opening bid was $10,000 because that was the most visible. Like even though, like there are a lot of online collectors that go after Ian's stuff, but for the most part, not really a household name. So, but the fact that had been everywhere with Walter.
That's so weird that what has happened to everything. There's a specialized group of people who collect whatever it is you're talking about and like or need or whatever. It's like, oh, you like bourbon? Cool. Well, there's a whole group of people that are trying to find them and collect them all so that you can't have any of them.
Exactly.
Oh, you like you know that first run paint job of that Greer amps pedal?
Oh man.
Well, too bad because there's a whole group of people that collect that color from that time period.
And better yet, they don't even play.
Yeah, and they don't. They collect. They're not
Right.
players. They're collectors. It's just like, well, I want that, and I don't want. It's more like I don't want anyone else to have that. That's
Right.
kind of what it seems
And
like.
I'm not even going to look at it. It's going to go in a vault, and I'm never going to see it again until I sell it, I guess.
How long did you stay at the auction?
So it was like an all day thing, but it went on well into the afternoon, I want to say. But so I committed an auction house faux pas, a major one, because I'm not well versed in auction house etiquette. This is the first.
I've only been to one.
Was it a music one or like a gear one?
No,
or
it was like
it
an auto
rodeo
auction.
one? Oh, an auto auction. So the auctioneer, by the way, the guy was a character. Like he was dressed to the nines, like a bow tie, and he spoke like he was on a radio show in the 50s, like starting the bidding at $10,000, and then he starts the bidding, and here's what happened. I see that this all happens over the span of maybe 3 seconds. I see on the screen that guitar, and I have my gavel's in this hand, phone's in this hand. I see it on the screen. He announces the bidding at $10,000. I don't hear it because I see it, and then I want to tell Ian that, hey, they're doing your guitars. Get back over here. So I'm doing this with the gavel. I'm going, Ian, get back here, and not realizing what happened. And the only reason I know what happened subsequently is because I recorded it because my phone was going. That I happened to do this. Not when it opened at 10,000, but literally within a second, because there were people on laptops monitoring online bids. Someone bid on 10,000, and then it went up to 12.5, and that's when my hand went up. And so then he points at me and he's like, I'm sorry. It was someone had bid online. It got up to 15, I think is what happened. It got up to 15 by the time I did this number, right? And I realized what happened. I just get sick because I'm just like, I don't like, this is like a verbal contract or something. Like I can't get out of this, right? And I'm especially broke at this point in my life, and I just was just like begging for someone to outbid me. And I think the auctioneer knew, he kind of saw it in my face, the panic. So he just decided to double down and really lean, like just kind of be like, we have 15,000 in the gallery. And he was like really like getting everyone to like, look at me and stuff. And then someone outbids me online and it goes up to 17.5. And then he starts egging me on that I need to bid for 20,000. He's like, if you have 15, you have 20. Let's be honest. Can I have 20,000? Do I have 20,000 in the gallery? He's like, 20,000. He's pointing at me. He's like, 20,000.
What a dick. Did you go up and thump him in his bow tie?
I mean, okay, I try to have a sense of humor about it because the dude was like, I think he was, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if he genuinely thought that I was a serious bidder, but I was doing this a lot and it would just went over his head. He just completely ignored the fact that I'm trying to bow out here and he just keeps going with it. But I decide not to bid, of course, right? Just so that he knows I'm not going to do it. And he even tries like cutting me a deal. He said, I don't even know if this counts as a deal, but he's like, if you bid again, I will urge, he's like, if you bid 20,000, I will urge everybody else to bid again. And I was like, that just sounds like you're not going to do anything because isn't that what we're all here to do? It's just like, so the guy was messing with me like hardcore, right? Finally, like that ends up being the winning bid, 17.5, which not counting auction, the seller premium you got to pay, which is 25%. And then 10% California state tax. Ugh. So altogether, it came out to be around like 24 grand.
That's ridiculous.
And the funny thing is, too, is whoever bid 17.5 probably could have got it at 15. But they're going to put it in a vault anyway, so it's like, who cares? I'll just stick it to them.
Yeah, it's going in
hopefully they're not watching right now.
Some rich guy's house in a wall case.
Behind a bookcase and a display or something. Yeah. And so how that relates to this guitar, because there were a whole bunch of others of Ian's that they were auctioning off, and there was one in particular. It was a Telly that Ian built, but the body was a refinished 52 Blackguard that he restored and refinished. Nobody knew that but Ian, and he built a neck for it. And so armed with that intel, we're like, okay, like let's see if we can get this for a lot less than what it would go for if people realize what it was. So long story short, I won that bid. It was like $27,500, so $2,750, which, was enough for my credit card. And then I got that guitar. We were all excited. We went over to Norm's Rare Guitars in Tarzana and kind of, filled him in on the whole thing because he had wanted to go. And then later on that day, I don't know like how this kind of occurred to me, but I decided to give the guitar to Ian. Because like Ian, he likes to say he builds guitars that he can't afford. And so that's when I was like, I'll, just put it on a credit card and we'll get one of your guitars. And so when we ended up getting, I just thought, I don't know, like he knew Walter. They were good friends. They had history. It was really touching, to see him and talk to his wife, Walter's wife. And so I don't know, I just decided to give it to Ian, not really remembering the fact that I just spent almost like after all the fees and stuff, it was like $4,000. And so Ian basically offered me, he goes, how about I just build you a guitar as a trade? Like complete custom build from the ground up. I was like, yes, let's do that. And so that's how this guitar.
That's the one that I played?
That's it.
Hell yeah. Guitar plays great.
Yeah, man, I'll give it a little
What did he do with the Blackguard body?
So it was pretty gutted. And so he just restored it. What he did was he got the same type of wood and like just kind of patched it back up and then just refinished it in
like
black.
Somebody routed it out or something?
Yeah, oh yeah, big time.
Why?
So it was the original owner, and this was back when they were just doing that, like in the 70s and early 80s.
Yeah, I guess
that
guy, it's just some guitar he bought.
Yeah, it wasn't. I mean, clearly,
what a weird thing to not tell somebody.
yeah.
By the way, that piece of wood is from 1952.
Yeah, and so I mean, this ended up being a pretty good trade. I mean, I love this.
He just happened to have some old 52 wood laying around that he just patched in there.
No, I think whoever owned it, because Ian has got a lot of interesting friends, and knowing him, he probably just had a friend that just had remnants of the body and was like, "This is trash," and he just gave it to Ian, and Ian's like, "All right, I'll fix it up." I mean, yeah, that's the kind of thing he does, man. He's a tinkerer, and he's brilliant at doing stuff like that. So, yeah, that's how this guitar was conceived.
Hell yeah!
And yeah, man, you made it sound really good.
I was just playing as fast and loud as I could, man.
That's the way to do it.
Like always.
That's the way to do it. Still working on that on my part. But.
Well, that's good. That's good.
Deer and beer.
He's a buddy of mine, the builder in Fort Worth.
Oh, cool.
Somewhere near Fort Worth. I think he's in Fort Worth proper. I'm not
Greg
actually
with
sure.
2 G's, right?
Yeah,
Gregg
yeah.
Guitars.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I know who he is. In fact, John Newsom.
I'll tag him in this episode in the show.
Yeah, I was going to
notes.
say, I think John has some.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure. He
Great
for sure
builder.
does.
Yeah.
Because I know John through Dusty.
Oh, cool.
Hey, will you make a note for me to tag Dusty's website? Great builder, even better dude.
Yeah, that's awesome.
He's just good people, man. I actually met him. I was playing for this artist in Texas, and he was teching for Josh Abbott, and we opened for Josh Abbott, and everybody was playing his amps. He used to be an amp builder.
Really?
Yeah. And he was like, hey, man, I see that you're playing a matchless. Would you want to plug into my amp or whatever? And I plugged into a couple of those amps during sound check, and I was like, cool, these sound great. And he still, to this day, when he goes to trade shows, the amps that he takes are amps that he builds. And people always try to buy them. He's like, I don't build amps anymore. You can't buy this. This is my amp. But now he builds guitars.
What a tease.
Brad Paisley's got like 6 of his guitars.
Yeah.
And Vince Gill's got 1 or 2. And he made one for Conan O'Brien. And
Wow.
He's got guitars in the hands of cool people. And every time I'm at the Dallas Guitar Show, which is coming up here in like 2 months, I always spend about 3 hours in his booth just noodling on his guitars as people walk by.
I know Ian frequents the Dallas Guitar Show. I don't know if he's going this year, but I'll find out if he is.
Yeah,
I'll have to connect y'all.
I'll be there. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it by Friday, but I'll be there. I'm not sure when my set is either, or if I even have one. But I'll be at the All-Star Jam on Saturday night, and I will be at in the Masters of the Telecaster set on Sunday usually with like Red Volkart and Greg Koch and any other cast of characters, usually including me, thankfully.
Yeah,
and
that's awesome
for some reason.
Dude, no, that's incredible. I've never been like all the years I've been in this business. I've never been to the Dallas.
It's the biggest show.
Yeah, I'd love to go, man.
It's a great show because it's not only is it a cool show and there's a bunch of cool stuff there, but like there's a bunch of cool. I like Letary. I told Jimmy he needed to start. I gave him like a list of names of like dudes that he needs to look into that need to be playing at the show, just to kind of like, whatever. And Letary was the one that went over the best, obviously, because Mark Letary is a guitar Jesus from Paso Robles or wherever he's from. Menlo Park, that's where he's from.
Yeah, Menlo Park. Wow.
Yeah. No.
Jimmy's shop too is amazing. If you're ever in Dallas, you should go.
It's actually in downtown Garland, Texas, my hometown.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's
right on.
What's the name of the shop?
Jimmy Wallace Guitars.
Okay.
Yeah, he's got a big website too. I will try to link that as well. Because a lot of his business is he's a vintage guitar trader, and he does a lot of business with like Japanese collectors and stuff, and they'll buy guitars in lots of like 40 and 50. So he'll like
that was his first week. They came over and bought like 50 guitars.
Yeah, and he also has his own line of guitars and his own line of pickups,
and they're nice.
And they bought a bunch of those too, and they are super great builds.
Yeah, they're basically replicas from what I gathered of what he showed me. It was like essentially like a custom shop spec 57 type thing.
Totally. They're awesome.
Ian does the same thing actually. He's got buyers he's got buyers in Japan.
Man.
He like sends a couple guitars a month.
I'm sorry, I can't even hear what you're saying. You're such an idiot.
I can't. I had no control over that.
Your nose is so dumb.
You're not wrong.
I'll mark it.
Hey, actually, have you guys ever been in Florida while they're having something called the Red Tide?
No.
Oh yeah.
Is that like Jubilee?
No, like
Red Tide is not a.
It's an allergen in the air, and as soon as we got out of the van at the venue, which was like down on the bay or whatever, not on the Gulf, but like the bay before the
down
separation,
by the bay,
and
by the dock.
As soon as we got out, our throats were burning and we were sneezing and coughing until we left and drove. We were like, the hotel was by the airport because we had another gig closer to the airport the second night. So we did an hour down and an hour back. But like as soon as we got back and I took a shower, I was completely fine.
Like a seaborne allergen?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
it's like
an allergy.
I didn't get the full
algae.
scope. Yeah.
Yeah, isn't it like algae or I thought it was like I don't know, like a mix of like that and like fish carcasses or whatever. Just kind of. I mean, I could be wrong.
All the
but
locals kept saying, "Oh, that's the red tide. That's
yeah,
why
it
you
just
can't breathe." We're
washes
used
the
to it."
shore and then just gets stuck there and then just pollutes the air. I guess.
Dude.
Sounds terrible.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's something like I could be wrong. I could be exaggerating on the full extent of it, but it's something to that effect.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
We'll go with that.
I legitimately had 10 sneezes of that velocity during each of our 3 sets at that gig. While we were playing, like sometimes even while singing. Oh, and I somehow ended up singing Zombie by the Cranberries in record key. And I was able to, but the bass player was supposed to sing it, and like at the last minute, he just could not remember how the verse melody went. So I just sang it for him.
I wish I could not remember how the first
And I don't mind that song.
I do.
I like to, songs like that, I like to try to like really get at the heart of the way they recorded it
Oh yeah.
tonally and recording wise. And
So you bring like 5 Boss DS1s with you and just run them in series.
yeah, but only with each other, and then I plug into something else.
Turn the tone knob all the way down.
Yeah, I just turn them into like a feedback loop, and I turn it on, and then it catches on fire, and we move on after the sacrifice is over.
Now, where it's sounding like to me is like when you're about to do the zombie part, and then there's that like kind of that yodeling kind of thing. Like I imagine you like about to sneeze every single time. Just
I definitely sneezed in one of the verses of that song. It was brutal. I'd never experienced that before. It was totally brutal.
I have terrible allergies, so I can kind of
I had really bad allergies in Texas. Here,
Oh, yeah.
I don't have any problems.
Same.
really? Isn't this like the allergy capital of the world?
Not for me.
Not for me either.
Or maybe I'm just mayor of this allergy capital. I don't know.
You have a diplomatic immunity.
Yeah, even if I don't, that's definitely what I'm going to tell people from now on. Like, no, I got diplomatic immunity to that. Welcome back to Gear and Beer and Allergy Talk.
And allergies.
Anyway, so tell me about this
Yeah, man.
this thing.
So okay, this is another one of Ian's builds. It's a telly. I mean, it's like the Keith Richards style with the humbucker in the neck, and he did this. It's like a 60s Gibson Gold where it's a little more coppery. With
Yeah,
more
it's
green in it.
it's almost green looking.
Yeah.
I
In
like
fact, for how relatively young this guitar is, the guitar cannot be more than 5 years old, and I mean it's patinaing really well. It's got, I mean, he does, I mean, barely 3 coats of nitro on it. You know, it wears beautifully,
breathes nicely. That's probably why they all sound so good acoustically.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and even this one, same deal. You know.
That's going to make for a great listen.
Yeah. It just has it's just a killer sound, and I mean the pickups he does.
That's why I put the windsock on the
6 for
microphone.
6.
A direct hit.
All right, what did I miss?
Get it together. I just opened my beer next to the microphone, and beer splashed onto the.
Very in line with your
There's a little
statement
bit of
about them
collateral
earlier.
damage when I did it
Yeah.
too. I think.
I was just
On that note.
begging Good People Brewing, one of my favorite breweries, to get it together with the carbonation. A little bit. Snake Handler Series. Well, I believe the snake got away just then. It was not handled.
It's a cobra.
Was
and
not
it's
handled.
bad at you.
It spat upon the mic. Anyway, so you took a bunch of shit off of this, and now it's all crazy, right?
Yeah. Okay. Now this was
All
just
right, next guitar.
My
No.
own. Yeah. My own volition. I took the pull pieces out because I saw.
So you were
Sebastian
saying
Paolo
this
do
is
it.
like his homage to the Keef?
Yeah. I mean, you know, he makes them in different colors and stuff, but like this one in particular, just
I have the Nash Keef over there.
oh yeah. So
I love that guitar.
This one actually started out as a double Esquire, and then he added the neck pickup, and that's around the time I got it. The fretboard's actually Coco Bolo, which is part of. So Ian has the stash of Cocobolo that's the first like bunch of that wood that was imported to the United States to use for guitars in like 1981. So the fretboard, it's actually the same on the King Edward, the red one that we just talked about, also from the same batch. But it's interesting how different they look. Like this one.
So they're both Cocobolo.
Both Cocobolo, yeah. And this one's got like cool like knots in it, and it's really ornate kind of looking, like naturally. It's pretty cool.
Let's go back to that neck pickup for a second. Play that for us. Let's hear the way that sounds with no pole pieces. It almost gives it like a hollow body kind of a airiness to
definitely an airiness to it. It still has the humbucker character, you know.
The punchiness on the low end for sure.
Yeah, you know. And I mean, and like I was telling you before it was really, really dark. Especially, this is a dark sounding telly. I mean, even the bridge pickup.
Oh, that's really dark.
This is a rocker, this telly. It's a great, just rock telly.
You know what the output on the bridge pickup is?
I don't know for sure. Ian's told
10,
me, but
think?
it's... I don't think it's over 10. If it is, not by much at all. So
it sounds real like metally. That makes sense. That if you're calling it the rocker, that I totally get that.
Well, I know it's a broadcaster. It's a 50s style.
Throw a bunch
pickup,
of gain on that bridge pickup.
Yeah. So you know.
You got higher gain than that.
So it's still, you can still hear the telly snarl, you know.
It seemed like it just got like 10 dB louder in volume and it's slightly dirtier. Do you have like a like a super saturated overdrive or distortion?
No, not on this board, but I could stack a couple of these.
That's a super like punchy, woofy kind of a telly bridge. That's interesting. So.
Yeah, it's very, and it's also got a low mid.
Can I see that for a second?
Yeah, man, come on.
And when we can actually, I'd like to. So you've got you'll send me a picture of but you've got your own pedal prototype coming up too, right?
I do. Yeah, man. This is the second iteration, and basically
turn me on, bro.
Oh yeah. There you go. You're just amp right now.
Wide open.
No.
Cool.
Yeah, man. Here, I'm gonna give you the boost side of my pedal real quick, just for an added MOSFET kind of oomph.
I don't know why I even tried bending down there. It sucks. That's like super punchy, man.
Who's the pedal builder?
Okay, so the company's called Messiah Guitars. It's my friend Tom, incredible human being. Yeah. Oh yeah.
We'll get him on here one day.
Of all people, he'd want to work with me on building a pedal. Man, dude.
So, you know what, Eddie? Let's build us a pedal, man.
I'd have to get him
their own rock.
I'd have to give him like 15 Rolling Rocks, and then we'll have that
and a bunch of conversation. Wonder Mountain bread or whatever.
Yeah, the White Mountain bread at Publix. Yeah. No, I mean, dude, Tom, hero of mine.
He's a hero of us all.
Indeed, he is. So yeah,
legend.
Tom, he's a builder out in L.A. He actually builds guitars and amps, but I was mostly hip to actually picks that he makes that has this stuff called D-grip on it. It's like this patented thing where it feels like a cat's tongue, where it's just it really like adheres to your fingerprint.
Is that one of them?
No, this is not.
Okay.
on retrospect, should have totally brought some. I did not. Sorry.
That sounds like something that I would absolutely hate, but so I was interested to feel that.
Yeah. Well, okay. It feels that way when you like do that and you scrape your finger on it, but like when you hold it, it actually I don't know, for some reason. And I've been trying to, as a player, like really loosen my grip of the pick and just be a lot softer with it, and that
play with some finesse.
Yeah, exactly. And just
I've been beating notes out of guitars for decades, bro. I get it.
Yeah, exactly. It's a whole new frontier, So I remember I tend to drop picks a lot when I'm playing live.
Really?
Yeah. I mean,
I used to. I can't remember the last time I did that. It's been forever. But you ever had like the thumb issue, like where your pick thumb locks up and you like can't even hold it?
That's happened a couple times.
That used to happen to me all the time. So I had to like drastically. I spent probably 2 years like relearning good technique.
Yeah.
And I haven't had any trouble since then. But man, I was like once, maybe twice a gig. I just wouldn't be able to hold my pick anymore, and I would just have to like use my thumb as the pick. I was playing like thrashy metal stuff, so it didn't really matter. But until I had to solo, and I was like, It starts sounding like making wrong notes on Guitar Hero. Was basically what I was doing.
meets Kerry King.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, okay. So the interesting thing was I had to field test
Greg
it.
Koch impression.
Doesn't he do like the well, I'm not plugged in, but he'll like hit the harmonic on a low E and then do a behind the nut bend, but you got to swell it with the volume.
Oh yeah,
that's the moo cow. There you go. Or the whale. Yeah. So
that guy.
I did I did a gig with it with one of Tom's picks with a D grip thing and didn't drop it once. And field tested it multiple times. I was like, this is pretty cool. So I that's how I got exposed to him. He was nice enough to send me some to demo them out and stuff. And then he had said, he's like, I also make pedals. He sent me a couple of them. I tried them and I like the inherent characteristic of them. They have a certain type of EQ presence that I really dug that I didn't really hear in a lot of other pedals, even among some of my favorite overdrives. It just tended to fill out like whatever your amp sound was giving you. It just it was very focused, like particularly in the mid range,
Yeah. Tube Screamery.
Yes, in fact, so it's funny because I was never a big Tube Screamer guy.
Still am not.
Yeah, and so when he told me that he wanted to build a pedal with me, and I went into co-designing it with him, he told me that the DNA of the pedal is actually based on a Tube Screamer, and I was thinking like I was a little reticent at first. It was kind of like, well, it's not really, but then it turns out, he educated me on the fact that a lot of overdrives, including a lot of the ones that I like, are based on a Tube Screamer.
Totally.
Yeah. And the end result ends up being really different. So
we were talking earlier about collectors. So like within X numbers of the famous one that Stevie Ray Vaughan had that sounds so amazing, like people collect those, and you if they come up for sale, they're like $7,000 and shit. I've never played one, but people whose word I value and trust have played, Boo Massey, I believe, one time told me he played a Tube Screamer within 10 numbers of the serial number of Stevie Ray Vaughan's, and said it didn't sound like any Tube Screamer he had ever played before. I want to know why. I can't find why. The components can't be that freaking drastically different. Did they change the design and then never could replicate it? Like, I don't get that.
Were they all built the same way, too? Like, was it like the first few were hand-built, and then after that it was... Because then you get into that realm of it's just unquantifiable. You just can't, there's just a weird gap that's where the magic lives, I guess. And it's like it could be in the imperfection of, like, for example, the Nobles ODR1.
Inconsistency of build or something?
Inconsistency of build. Yeah. Like the Nobles ODR1, right? Like everyone in Nashville's favorite overdrive, including myself, which is also... turns out based on the Tube Screamer, supposedly.
I have mine on my baseboard, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool. I can see that. I mean,
it's not a vintage one, but it's got a lot of low end, and it rules for bass.
I'll have to
it's
try
the
that.
perfect bass overdrive.
So I have an old one, and I've owned a couple old ones, and they've sounded different, even though being of the the type of like the early '90s ones or whatever. The one I have, I like the best out of like the three that I've owned, and I have a couple of the I got like the mini and a couple of the reissues and stuff. They all got their own sort of vibe, but there was something about when you stumbled upon a good one, right? That it for some reason just can't be duplicated, or at least no one knows how it's duplicated to the point where they can just systematically copy it. And
that's so
it's weird.
Antithetical to the way that everything else works these days. People are rebuilding everything with modeling and like getting really close, like closer than I want them to get. Actually.
Yeah, it is a little disconcerting,
I enjoy the. Well, I take that back. In the last 6 weeks, I've had so many pedals break that maybe I don't enjoy it that much anymore. But I mean, it's I got a cancer.
Yeah,
I don't know what's happening. All my shit's broken, but
someone
that blows my mind. It's like, why can't this be figured out?
Well, one thing too that actually I had not thought about.
Lyndon literally has a computer on the floor that you can plug into amps and it learns them. It's a learning.
Wait, is it that new?
It's a Kemper.
Yes, the Kemper stage.
Oh, the Kemper stage.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
I was like, because isn't there something that's a profiler that's like a small pedal that just came out?
For Kemper?
It's not Kemper,
Is
but
it
it
like
does the
DSP
profiling
or something?
thing. No. Well,
the Head Rush does that.
No, it's the IK, I think, builds it.
Oh, okay.
It's called the TONEX. The TONEX is what it's called. Yeah, this is pretty new.
Yeah, make a note, please. I don't know shit about that.
Supposedly, it's like and it's much more affordable than a Kemper, but it has all the same tech. Because Kemper's been kind of the same for like a long time, like over a decade at this point.
It
now,
does
right?
sound really good, but as I have said a bajillion times, Helix sounds good, with the exception of the way my buddy Rob Music uses it, which is different than the way everybody else uses it. And it sounds and feels okay because he's... Anyway, it's a feel thing for me. It's
sure.
It sounds great, but it doesn't feel right, and I feel like I play like shit on stuff like that.
I agree. So
Which is just excuses for my playing, I guess, in the end of the day. But
well, man, believe me, I'm full of those myself. But I will say this with the feel thing, it comes down to, in my experience, is you're dealing with a recorded guitar signal versus something that's kind of a step behind that, which is being in the room with an amp.
Yeah.
So I have a Kemper at home, and I play it through a cab with a 300-watt speaker, and it with the
Like
right
a full
profiles.
range cab?
It was like I bought it used. It was actually it's a Milkman speaker in it with it's like I think it's
Like a 200 watt or something.
300 watts, and
you
it's
just said that.
Is a
Welcome back
for
to Gear and
pedals.
Beer.
It's a pedal steel, something commonly used in pedal steel amps.
Totally, I'm familiar with them.
Yeah, which I wasn't.
They sound great.
Yeah, I mean, and really eats up that Kemper, man. It really works. It projects it nicely, way better than it does through monitors. So I still am in that, like, I like the feeling of air pushing in some kind of capacity.
Totally get that. The two best instances of that. So my buddy Dennis, who's been on this podcast, Dennis Drummond. I don't remember if he brought it. No, he did. I think that we did a jam. I don't know if I put it out, but when he plays live, even when is a dog barking?
Yeah.
Perfect. When he plays live, he's playing a powered Kemper into some, I forget what random guitar speaker. Mm-hmm. I think it might be an EV. I don't know what it is, but
okay.
and then it's in some like janky looking ass cab. I mean, it's not janky. It just like looks like an old blues man, from the 50s amp that he would carry around. But it's just a speaker, and he plugs his Kemper into that. And I wish it didn't sound so good.
Yeah. Because it's just like...
He's also an amazing player, and he's just one of those guys that has touch and feel, and you put it in his hands, and it'll probably sound good. Mm-hmm. But, like, it's what he prefers. And I may have talked before on this podcast, but he and I did a couple of sessions together where I tracked bass, and then we were both tracking guitars, and I was playing real amps into my aux box direct, and they were miking his Kemper cabinet. Which I thought was like we were stuck in a paradox within the multiverse.
Like a feedback loop.
Whatever the hell is happening, man.
I think Kempers, because I use Kempers on the road.
Yeah, you would be the authority here, I think.
And I definitely would say that it depends on the monitoring situation. Like if you're on a big stage where like it's a giant sound system, you're in a huge room where like the difference between like your amp, if you're using an amp, is going to be probably behind you, and you're not going to tell the difference unless you take an ear out.
Right.
Like in that situation, the Kemper is great because it sounds amazing, and that especially run it stereo. If it runs in mono, it sounds like trash to me. Mm-hmm. It makes all the difference. Like if I take it downtown, it sounds terrible because it's going to be mono. It's going to be where they don't have it turned up loud enough, and literally you don't get the same sustain because you don't have the same feedback loop of like a real amp in a room. The sound is going to be feeding back into your guitar pickup, right? Which then feeds back out through it creates a literal feedback loop that increases the sustain. So that's like what the feeling is of playing through an amp, you know. But then you
the
get
vibration
into
of your instrument.
You get into like power sagging. You also get into it. One of the ways, if you want to know on a blind test, if you're playing through a real amp or a Kemper, roll the volume knob off of your guitar a little bit, and if the gain does not change drastically the way it would on an amp, you're probably playing through a Kemper.
Really, it doesn't work that same way?
It doesn't work the same way.
Interesting.
Yeah. I don't like that about it.
Yeah, I don't either because I'm a volume knob guy for sure.
Me too.
I have trouble
fall back on it a lot.
With the exception of my dad's 63 Strat that I have over there. Every guitar that I have has a treble bleed in it because I used my volume knob and I don't want it to affect the tone. I just want control of the gain.
Sure. And you want to keep that top end in there. Which
exactly, because as Lyndon can probably vouch for, I like a very bright tone.
Yeah, same.
And every guitar that I've ever bought or ever had or ever played on a gig that didn't have a treble bleed the volume knob does not functionally like work for the way I'm used to using a guitar.
I'll say this about Kempers too. Something that I've realized in tracking with it is that it sometimes in a monitoring situation, even in a studio, it'll sound not great.
Yeah.
But when it gets put into the track, I usually end up liking, if it's a rhythm guitar,
it sits really nicely.
It sits better than other guitars. Like because sometimes if I'm at home, I'll track some things with the Kemper and then I'll track some things with an amp, and sometimes I end up liking the Kemper better.
Really?
Yeah, just with how, like you said, how it sits in the track.
What are you doing, like your basement through that Supra cab?
I've been doing stereo, so I'll do basement through the Supro cab, and then I'll do the Vox AC4.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean,
like real stereo or just stereo out of your last pedal.
I run one side of, so my delay and my reverb, I run them stereo. So like one side of it goes to one amp and the other side goes to another amp.
Is it what is it coming out of though? The H9?
It would be coming out of the H9. Gotcha. So it's like Timeline stereo, H9 stereo.
So you run stereo into the H9 from the Timeline?
Correct.
Okay, badass. Hell yeah.
Yeah, and
I have faux stereo. I just have stereo coming out of my cap stand, which, as we discussed earlier, now changes settings at its own time and choosing.
Yeah. But those are designed, those pedals are, including the Kemper, the modulation and reverb and delay are designed to be stereo. So if you're running them mono, you're literally not sounding the way you're supposed to sound.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What's that clock saying?
We've got 30 seconds.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and cut in here.
Fantastic.
Deer and beer.
you guys are awesome. I love that. I felt like it plugged me in.
Stop it right now.
Don't air this.
We
part,
are terrible. This is terrible.
It's really, I felt like it really plugged me into just the scene out here, especially when I first moved and I wanted to get to know more of the players. And everything.
Man, thank you for the free promo clip.
Yeah, that's very kind.
Yeah, you're welcome, man. Five stars. 5 out of 6.
That reminds me, if you can leave us a review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Give us a 5-star review. Give us a comment on YouTube. Thumbs up, follow, subscribe, send money.
Just don't review
help.
the jam.
Send help. God, if you listening, help.
Jesus Christ. Well, you've definitely been on at least on my short list of guys to get. Guys like you and John Newsom and like just guys that
Eddie
I know
Van
are great
Halen,
players.
guys like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Y'all definitely got to get Newsom.
Well, we got to
on
get
here.
Jesus
I got to call
Christ.
into Eddie, but he's not.
We got to get
he's not
Jesus
getting back
Christ
to me.
first so he can bring Eddie back.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you
So
go.
Jesus, if you're listening.
we got to ask him a favor.
Jesus is on the main line now. Tell him what you want. You guys know that song?
Should I restart this segment?
No, you should link that. That's a song. That's a great song.
Jesus on the main line.
Jesus on the main line. Tell him what you want. Yeah, as back when I used to do the Nashville Beef residency at Paradise Park, rest in peace.
Rest in peace. Yeah.
Sometimes Josh Schultz, keyboard player, would be out, and Rob Music would fill in on second guitar, and he would always do this song, Jesus on the Main Line. And I'd never heard it before that, but I've gone and listened to it.
I was going to say, isn't it a gospel tune?
Yeah, it's either a gospel tune or like an old soul tune, maybe. I don't remember at this point, but I will, by the time anyone else is hearing this, have provided a sufficient link in the show notes. So, anyway, what were we talking about before my brain took over? Or lost
How you got to get John Newsom on here? And I got all. If y'all need more guests, I know some freaking phenomenal players that
Hell yeah.
y'all should definitely get connected with if you don't know them already.
Yeah, I need to talk to people that are cool. I need it.
I mean,
Wait.
yeah, okay. Is this the steamrolling I was told about? There you go. There it is.
Jesus.
The Lonely Whale.
That one was a little more excited. I think it got a little higher.
Here, do it again.
No.
Had to give you a little.
This has got a lot of play behind it.
Extra
I
delay.
love that.
Yeah.
My
I'm thinking twang, man.
Non-Fender guitars do not have that.
Are you putting reverb on that?
So when you hold down the tap tempo, it just like oscillates the delays.
Okay. Enough of Rob's bullshit. I want to hear about this pedal. Jesus Christ.
That's what you sound like. you sound. This is what when Lyndon's talking, I hear this.
Exactly.
I don't know what's
Yeah,
happening.
exactly.
That's what you sound like.
Like a ghost of a whale.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. Yeah, so tell us about this pedal.
Yeah, man. Okay,
By God.
so yeah, by God. You know what? By God, this here pedal, based on the Tube Screamer, but the end result is a very different.
And it's
thing.
off right now, right?
It is currently off. Yes, you're just amp. Let me turn that delay off. Just amp with the Dispatch Master on for a little bit of that backsplash of reverb and delay there.
This is the Messiah Guitars.
A wet palette.
What's the name of the pedal?
The name of it's going to be called the Eddie Boost Drive. So
Okay.
that's what Tom wanted to call it, and I was like, all right, it's got my name on it. That's cool. And then
We're, of course, talking about Tom Morello from Rage Against the Machine.
You know, I feel bad because I believe Tom is from Czech Republic. I don't want to butcher his last name, so I'm just going to say Tom at Messiah Guitars.
Says the Lebanese native.
You know,
lineage.
very, very different dialects, very different ways of pronouncing.
Clearly.
The thinking of this pedal was what I wanted to do. I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel or do anything groundbreaking, really. I just
this
wanted
is your new design on the wheel.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
So breaking new ground, redesigning the wheel. I wanted a pedal that was something I could use in every situation I find myself in musically, live or in the studio.
It's not too much to ask.
It's not, but it turns out, if you're trying to fit that into a small enclosure, into a pedal, a little bit more challenging. But what I wanted lots of tweakability on the EQ. That was real important, because especially if it's going to be based on a tube screamer. I was like, I want to be able to dial the mids in a certain way to where you can venture into the territory of different kind of pedals, like instead of it just being very mid-rangey like a Klon or a tube screamer.
Yeah.
I also wanted, it's a medium gain pedal, right? So it's not metal at all. It's definitely, it can do high gain stuff, but very much like exploding amp kind of high gain, like,
spitty,
like yeah, I mean, if you really crank it,
like kind of sound.
Yeah, especially on the boost side. So here's what's really cool. Even with, like, this is one of those pedals where you can actually spend a lot of time really tweaking it and finding multiple sweet spots with it. You can even go to extremes and get usable sounds. Like, you could turn the mids all the way off and
hang
turn
on.
the treble all the way up. And
I have an idea.
Yeah.
Show me some of these tones. Tell me what kind of a thing to play.
Sure, okay.
And then set your pedal to like what you're talking about.
I'll tell you what, just play some like classic rocky open chords, and then play some little like kind of licks, right? I'm gonna turn on the drive side. So that like,
I don't know how that goes, but
that kind of like creaminess, because he was. I mean, I don't know if it was it was definitely like small shitbox amps just on 10.
Give me that tuner for a second.
Oh yeah, and that's how you get that huge sound of like a Champ or a Tweed just exploding, right?
Yeah.
And so go ahead.
Sorry. I was going to
question.
say for the demo while he's tuning, maybe you could start us at, let us know what settings they are, just kind of like your standard use on a gig, and then we can kind of like run it through the paces, like tell us like what you're changing, what parameter you're changing, and a little bit about that, and we can hear like what it does.
Perfect. Yeah, that works.
And for the listeners, Rob is on currently the bridge pickup of this Ian Anderson kind of Les Paul standard type
Wide
thing.
ass open.
Yeah. Humbucker.
It's called the Standard. It's an Ian Anderson the Standard.
Yeah. You can call it the Ian Standardson. That's what that rolls
Standardson.
off the tongue too. So I have it set right now. So there you have drive, you have level, of course, and then 3-band EQ, and there's also a toggle switch. You go between silicon and LED clipping. I currently have it on silicon. That's how you get the really nice creamy mids, And I run the low end at about 11 o'clock. I actually run the mids kind of low because it still has a nice. The mids have a nice texture even with the mids all the way off.
Yeah, there's kind of a natural bump.
So
Yeah,
is it,
natural
they're all
bump.
boost only?
Yeah, for the most part, like they're super interactive. So it's like you can boost the mids and you can actually get a little bit of gain and even a little bit of dB. And so there's especially with a lot of knobs on one pedal, that leaves room for a lot more interactivity and tweakability. So, so for me, the sweet spot is like level at like 1-2 o'clock.
Show me.
Yeah, right here. So basically how I have it set right now. So level gains at about noon, levels at like 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock. And just, you see what I mean about that just really creamy sound, right? It colors.
It's like a high mid thing to me.
Yeah. And when you bring the mids up even further, I'll boost the mids a bit. It can kind of get into Klon territory.
Let's hear it.
So right now I got the mids at like 1 o'clock.
Cool.
Yeah.
That the only change just then was the mid boost, right?
Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
And it's not very tube screamery to me.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. Like when
It
with
sounds a little more open. It does.
Yeah.
It hints at tube screamer at the
But
very
not
minimum.
in the muffled sense.
Yeah,
of
it's
a
not as
tube
closed
screamer.
off. sounding.
right, and so we actually one thing I wanted Tom to do was to double the voltage. So it's got an internal voltage
get
doubler,
the
so you can
headroom.
power it at 9 volts and get 18 volts.
Yeah,
So it's got that extra openness to it.
which is what I like about a tube screamer.
Yeah.
Like, if you could run a tube screamer, I run mine literally drive almost all the way down.
Yeah,
and
that's
gain
yeah.
or volume almost all the way up. Just because that's how mine runs at a normal volume.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
good on you for being willing to do that because a lot of people are like, it's supposed to. I should be able to use it like this. It doesn't sound good.
It doesn't. It
Like,
doesn't.
Well, this is not how things work.
It's over compressed.
Right, right. And I mean, so what I'll do is, I know you don't have like, so I'll announce what I'm doing as I'm switching things around.
Yeah.
But really, what I'm gonna play with, because I like how the EQ set. Like, generally, I'll tend to spend most of the time tweaking the mids and then highs, and then lows are pretty good anywhere you put them. It doesn't get too woofy, even with the lows kind of cranked. And if you want like a kind of a violin like Eric Johnson kind of tone, you can actually get with this, and I'll show you. I'll turn the highs all the way down, keep the mids up, turn the gain all the way up, and it gets a really kind of sustainy, singy kind of tone.
Yeah, show me that first.
Yeah. So what it's really giving you is, because I almost like to think of this as like the EQ is kind of the star of this pedal more than the gain stage or anything else like that. Like, it just gives you this. It's really focused in those mids, right? It's that inherent characteristic of Tom's pedals where they just add a little bit of extra oomph, especially when you're moving air.
Yeah.
You can really hear it.
Moving hair.
Moving hair, that's right. And then it gets, especially if you're playing something really scooped, like a Fender amp, it just really fills in. It really fills in that space.
Well,
and
that's what in my mind, a lot of the reason that I don't like tube screamers typically is because I don't play a Fender style amp,
right.
and I don't need those extra mids at all.
Yeah.
And so that's, I think, why it sounds so much like this to me. As opposed.
Well, I've tried it through. So I mean, I've run it through like
This doesn't
tweeds,
sound
but-
like I'm saying a tube screamer.
No, I know exactly. And so and it's that same reason why I've never really been a huge fan of tube screamers, is because it's got that blanketed kind of it's like honky and it's too compressed, right? Whereas this seems to add, I don't know how Tom made it happen, but it just seems to, and it could have something to do with the fact that you get more headroom because of the 18 volts. But it just somehow fills in the space, and it gives you just enough compression to where it doesn't muddy out. And I've tested this live. I've used it on multiple gigs, and even my ear mix, I was really happy with how it sounded in a mix. I was very audible, because I when I was playing with with Martin, you got another guitar, and he plays loud. You know how he is. So I had to make sure I was I had to make sure I was distinct. And it was very much that way, and I was very pleased with actually how the tone sounded too, which I didn't think was possible, to be honest, because I've never had an ear mix that was inspiring to me. It was like just tolerable enough to be like, all right, let's get through this, and I'll just try to ignore it. But I was actually like, I didn't pull one of my ears out. I was like, I like this. This
I can't do that.
Kind of works.
I have to have both my ears in. One out just ruins me.
Yeah. So I mean, man, sometimes it's like I just got to remind myself that there's stage volume, and I'll just pop it out. And
I think I did that on our jam. Actually, it's like the first time I've ever done that. I cannot do that during a gig.
Yeah.
My ears are so sensitive. The level I run my ears at is so much quieter than 100 dB of stage
Yeah.
volume. That if I take that one ear out, this whatever ear is in is now gone.
Gone, yeah.
All I hear is the one unabashed, unprotected,
Right.
blistering stage volume.
Well,
Hey, fuzz this thing out. Let's hear it.
Okay, well, one thing I want to show you too is the boost side. So there's another side to this.
Oh, copy. This is just the
This is just the drive
circuit.
side. So the
Copy.
boost side is a MOSFET, a boost. It's extremely transparent. It just gives your EQ a nice little facelift. And if you, let's say you're playing the drive side and you like how it colors the amp, but you kind of want some of that transparency from the amp back, just click the boost on, stack them, and it's pre-drive, and you end up getting kind of both. You get that transparency back while maintaining that color. It's interesting how it
That's
works.
interesting.
Yeah, check this out. So that's with the boost on. I'm going to turn it off and then turn it back on while you're playing. That's with it off. So a little more bite came back. You know, a little more of that. Because like the boost side is a nice like alarm clock for your amp. Just
This
wakes
is
it
just
up.
the boost.
This is just the boost right now. So here's
Yeah,
the
I like
boost.
that.
Here's the boost off. Back on right now.
I like the airiness that has.
Yeah.
I can't play the guitar at all, but
There's definitely like you said, like the bite. There's like a top end thing that's getting added in
Yeah.
addition to like
Clarity,
It
kinda.
comes a little punchier and a little bitier.
Right.
When you add the boost in.
Now
I like that boost a lot.
Yeah, man, the boost alone almost is worth the price of admission. I mean, it's super
how much does
transparent.
it cost to get in?
Well, we'll talk about that. I actually one thing you mentioned about fuzzing it out real quick. When you crank the boost completely, it sounds like a Tweed just on 11.
Yeah, let's
Check-
hear that spitty shit. If I don't miss every note by one fret, am I really playing? Cool.
We'll melodyne it in post.
So now I set it back to about 1-2 o'clock, which is where I like to keep the boost, and it's nice because that's kind of where it's unity with the drive.
Okay.
So the boost side is not. I don't use it as a solo boost. I use it as just another. I guess you can call it a gain stage, but it just further sculpts the tone.
But so you use it to open that shit up.
Yeah.
Does the boost happen before or after the drive?
The boost
Before.
is before. It's pre-drive.
Okay, so you're pushing any drive that happens once you turn the drive on.
Right. And I mean, and you could dial it to where it'll give you a nice bump to if you wanted to make it
Sure.
a solo. But personally, because I tend to use dual stage drives that have a boost, I almost like mentally, it's like I only use it as a solo. I don't really use it on its own and don't really get to know the boost side as much. But with this, it's inspired me to actually spend time with using the boost pedal almost like it's its own transparent overdrive.
Right.
Like it's its own overdrive and it just complements the drive side. So that way you can, it just adapts to a lot of different amps. And we've only gone with the silicone clipping. Like if I switch to LED clipping, it opens up a little bit more. It's a little bit more amp-like.
Yeah, I want to hear that.
Yeah, I'll switch that on here. So here's pedal off. There's drive on silicone side. I'm going to switch to LED side here. A little chunkier. And there's with the boost. So I cranked the boost and the gain on the drive side a little bit. This is pretty, it's getting kind of high gain there.
Oh, it sounds good to me. Yeah, that's my favorite iteration of that pedal so far. It's like it's hairy, but it's not dark.
Right.
It's raw. It's not like that zippery kind of like compressy, spitty low end thing. It's like the snarly kind, and that's the kind that I tend to like, especially for any kind of a live scenario, just so you sit in the mix. Not like that's going to sit in the mix like you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's got to sit great.
You can also hear every note that you're playing. Like if you play a chord, I can pick out all the notes in the chord still.
That sounds great, man.
Yeah, that's very nice.
Yeah.
I'll try it on the neck.
Yeah, yeah.
Let me hear just that boost.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Now, can you hear just the drives?
Oh, yeah.
The LED drive with the neck pickup? Mm-hmm. That sounds tube screamery to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm gonna bring.
But it's not in a negative way.
Now I'll stack it with the boost again, so
Yeah.
you can hear how like that transparency comes back.
Hell yeah, dude. That sounds the best to me. That bridge pickup with that pedal.
Yeah. He just had to do it. He just had to do it.
Anyway.
It's a squirrel themed podcast.
Seen a truck pulling out of your drive. All right, I'll tell you what. Is there anything else you want to show us about this pedal?
Yeah, well, I'll just say so. I mean, again, I just wanted to put as much like versatility in a small. It's a small box, you know, and I wanted that
I
relationship.
would call that a
between-
standard pedal size.
Exactly. Yeah. So it kind of inspired this new relationship between the boost side and the drive side, and the fact that you got all these different diodes working together. And if you spend enough time with it, you can find sweet spots on each setting with each clipping diode, with the boost on, with boost off. You know, it just works in a bunch of different ways, and it can adapt to whatever amp you're playing through. And I played it through like my Tweed, my Basement. I played it through my Marshall. You know, to try out through
Your dumbles, all your dumbles.
Yeah. I mean, I just really wanted to make sure that this is a pedal that I could use in any situation. That was really all all that really I wanted out of it. And if it's something that
Eddie Boost Drive, bro.
That's right. And if there's something that if anyone else is able to find inspiration, with what's been created here, I mean, that's awesome. I'd be so happy to know that it did the same for anybody else, But at the end of the day, I'm just happy to have a pedal that kind of sounds like me, I guess.
Post-release, if you'll provide me a link, I will make it available in the show notes. But you'll have to remember that because I will.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. I really do.
Let's stop real quick and then come back. I'm going to ask you some questions and we'll get you out of here.
Sounds good.
You've only been here for like 11 hours.
Deer and beer.
So we always ask people questions because someone once told us that was a good idea, and we blindly followed it since then. So you too
Makes sense.
will be run afoul of the questions.
Oh, can't wait.
Let's see. I feel like I updated some of them. I don't remember if that's true or not. I just added some stuff, and it's a bunch of either-or questions that, in my opinion, are pointless, but apparently are of value to people. So we will continue to deliver that, and then we'll have some more reflective and non-either-or questions to close out.
Okay.
And we'll get you out of here, man, because it's like tomorrow almost. Yeah. All right, the first question. All right. Well, welcome back to Gear and Mostly Beer. The first question is and will always be Metallica or Megadeth?
Megadeth.
I respect that answer.
I mean, I love Metallica, but I've always identified with Megadeth more. I've connected with them more. The first song I ever heard was Sweating Bullets when I was maybe
Follow me, meet the
fifth
real
grade,
me.
and it's
My message for your life.
it was the deepest thing I'd ever heard. Just the fact that he's losing his mind talking to him, just the narrative of the song. I was like, holy wow! And it's just so many groovy riffs in that, especially like in the chorus,
that whole record is a masterpiece.
so good.
One of my favorite of all time.
And of course, Megadeth is like, God, 4, 5 for 1 on great lead guitar players, I mean, Chris Poland, Marty Friedman, and then all the way over to Chris Broderick,
what era is Chris Broderick?
he was
I know like Glenn Drover, and then
he was after Glenn, I think.
what's the guy now? The
Kiko Loureiro.
yeah. Is he Portuguese or
Yeah, he was in this progressive power metal band called Angra. And they're
Dude,
awesome.
You'll clean it up.
Imagine, think like Dragon Force, but like better.
I don't want to think about that.
But it's better. I mean, it's like it's in the sense that it's like that happy kind of like, but really extreme. But it's tastier in my
Video
opinion.
Gamey kind of a thing.
Yeah, video gamey. But like I guess for me it's the nostalgia factor because. I told you this, earlier today. Like I raised myself on music. I had no guideposts. I just, ingested whatever I could.
You wandered.
I wandered, and I somehow
Good on you.
like went from like, in fact, the first 2 records I ever got, CDs, right? My mom bought them at a garage sale. She didn't know what I got a Walkman, so she was like, I just bought these 2 random CDs for like 50 cents each. It was Haddaway, What Is Love? The EP, and Mr. Big, Lean Into It.
Oh, I don't know that particular song.
Well, Lean Into It, the record. So
gotcha.
that one, I mean, that one's got all their best songs, in my opinion. I mean, Paul Gilbert, Billy Sheehan, Pat Torpey, and Eric Martin. That was I never heard music like that before in my life. I was maybe,
That's
late
a cool band.
school.
I haven't spent a whole bunch of time with them, but I do know enough to know that's a cool band, especially with Paul Gilbert.
Yeah.
Wow, dude. Paul Gilbert.
Paul Guilfoyle.
Paul Guilfoyle. Oh man.
Because this is how outlandish it was to me. I remember looking at the insert on the album, and I was like, why do these dudes have long hair? Like that. It was so foreign to me. And I remember the first track was Daddy Brother Love a Little Boy, the one he plays with the power drill. Paul Gilbert. I was like, what is this? It just completely it just turned me on as far as like I was activated as far as like liking rock music, and from there, I barely had a dial-up connection, and I was just trying to find as much as I could. So over the years, I was stumbling on all kinds of obscure, just random, like a lot of European music too, like European metal,
like Asia,
stuff like that, like Asia. We're talking about.
No, he said European.
Yeah,
yeah.
it's the same.
Anyway, and then when I found Megadeth,
how's over there?
When I found Megadeth, it was just a game changer. I was like, this is, and at the time that was the heaviest stuff I'd ever heard.
Dude, the Countdown record's amazing. Euthanasia, Rust in Peace, Peace Cells, all those records.
Did you ever see that there's a making of Euthanasia called, I think it's called Evolver or Evolver, I think. I had the VHS of it.
I feel like I feel like the guy who gave me those drums had that video.
Okay, yeah. It went back when Nick Menza was playing with them, and
definitely. That's my favorite iteration of Megadeth, obviously.
Me too, man.
Friedman, Menza, Ellison, Mustaine. That's the classic lineup. I don't think that you could argue anything else.
100%. And I think Marty's most underrated solo is the Killing Road off of Euthanasia.
Is that
Killing Road is the one's like, lost my mind, lost all my money.
Yeah, that's right. I lost my life to the Killing Road.
Yeah,
I love
that
Megadeth.
solo though.
I don't know why
man.
I sing. Why
Don't get us pulled off YouTube with your extreme accuracy.
Hey,
you're about to get flagged,
Might have
man.
to pay
for
some
that.
copyrights after that.
when I uploaded the last podcast, Nick and I played a Stevie Wonder song for the jam.
I remember that.
No, but YouTube was like copyrighted
You got a strike.
stuff detected. Owner allows use on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
So I
Good
guess
on
Stevie Wonder don't give a shit.
He's not
still
watching it.
That YouTube was kind of like, we know what you did.
Yeah, it was super weird, and like I didn't even
We
think
heard
about
that.
it. At the time, I was just like, what can we play? The first thing that popped into my head was "Isn't She Lovely?" I was like,
Yeah.
let's play that. Great
It was a
jam,
beautiful
great song.
jam. Nick's
I bet
a
it's
great
because
player.
it was in the title. I bet it flagged it. I bet you put it, Isn't She Lovely, either in the text or the title.
No.
Huh.
I didn't say anything about it.
Yeah, I saw that episode, and I remember the jam. I don't remember it ever being mentioned.
Huh.
As far as
I definitely did not mention it, but it when I uploaded it to you, not when I uploaded it through my other distribution site where it gets everywhere but YouTube, Spotify and everything. I didn't have any issue there, but on YouTube they made sure to point out that I had copyright.
I'm
You'll
glad
have
that they
Protected.
attempted to collect 1,000th of a cent.
Yeah, fuck them.
Yeah. You hear that?
Miles
YouTube?
or Coltrane? Moving on.
Please.
So, like, it would be disingenuous of me to claim that I am very well schooled in jazz. I'm not. Even in listening, I do enjoy jazz. I think it's wonderful, but I guess I'm the most familiar with Miles. Kind of Blue is a great record, and
It's
I remember
one of the best records that's ever been made.
So are you saying I don't need to check out any others? Because I pretty much know that one and that's it.
No,
That's
you
how
definitely need to
limited-
check out a bunch of others. You need to check out early Miles, like Bop Miles.
Okay, I need to check out Coltrane.
I guess it's
not check.
technically
I know
post-bop,
I'm
right?
familiar
But-
with Coltrane's work, but not like as far as really diving deep. I have yet.
Have you
to.
ever listened to the Blue Train record?
I don't think so. Name some songs.
Forget that. Here's your homework. I'm giving
Okay.
you homework.
right.
I know you didn't know this was a class, but listen to Coltrane, "A Love Supreme" on the way home.
I Love Supreme. Okay,
3 songs.
Done.
I think it's
Okay.
like 30 minutes.
I thought it was 4.
can do.
Is it 4?
It's 3 or 4.
I think it's 3.
It's very good.
Yeah,
Awesome.
it's really.
I Love Supreme.
It's
Noted.
jazz heads. A lot of people contend that it's among his best work.
Really,
If not his best work. I think it's great. I also love Blue Train. I think Blue Train is a great record. Guys like him and may he rest in power, Wayne Shorter, lost me a little bit with the saxophone aria kind of a thing that they were doing, like the the bird call, like avant-garde kind of
Oh
thing
yeah,
that
they both had a lot of that.
they both ended up.
Wayne Shorter's modern. I would say the like Love Supreme thing is kind of similar to Wayne Shorter's group with like Patitucci and I can't remember who all. Brian Blade.
Yeah, okay.
I'm forgetting who was on piano, but it's like very like pentatonic. Like all the melodies are like kind of pentatonic, but with like crazy chordal harmony. But that stuff is cool too.
I love that.
I'm familiar with Brian Blade.
Oh, dude, Brian Blade is the shit.
LA drummer buddy of mine turned me on to him. Like,
dude, he's so dope.
Years ago, yeah.
That Shorter record, Night Dreamer, with Night. I can't, is it the record Night Dreamer? The song is Night Dreamer. Whatever that record is, I love that tune. My trio, which we're playing again at Casa in a couple of weeks. I love.
Yeah, it's an album.
Yeah,
I was thinking it was maybe on Adam's Apple, but no, it's
Adam's Apple is another great record.
Great record.
There's also a record I believe that's called. It's either the record is called Fee Fi Fo Fum or one of the tracks on that record is Fee Fi Fo Fum.
I believe it's Speak No Evil. Let me see.
That may be right. Also a great record. Early Wayne is my favorite Wayne. It's like cool changes, but still a very like bebop vocabulary. Anyway.
Yeah, that's on Fee Fi Fo Fum is on Speak No Evil.
Speaking of bebop vocabulary, that's something
record.
I would like to get a little bit more hip to with my guitar playing. I do like bebop style.
Talk to this guy.
I will.
Shit. Talk to me 15 years ago.
He can huff and puff all he wants, but if there's an expert on it around here, it's him.
I mean, I love being the worst musician in a room, man. That's how I grow.
I made a career out of it. Matheny or Schofield?
Schofield. I mean, I love Matheny's work, but I guess for Schofield, with me, I love his tone, especially his bridge pickup tone.
I used to loathe Schofield, and what a mistake I was making. I still love Matheny. He was my first love. And honestly, it was that first record,
How romantic.
Bright Sides Live. And then I like wandered through the 49 other iterations of music that he wrote over the next 40 years. But Bright Sides Live is an amazing record. Great. Is that Ballard on that with?
I don't know actually.
I know it's Jocko and Pat, and I think it's Jeff Ballard.
Okay.
I could be wrong about that. Either way, what an amazing record. And then he's got such amazing records. Like he's got a record called Quartet with Brad Meldo, not to be confused with the Matheny Meldo record. So they made a record called Matheny Meldo, and it's the same artwork as the one that's called Matheny Quartet, but the colors are different, and one says Meldo's name on it, and it came second. The first one is the most perfect rainy day jazz record of all time, in my opinion.
Okay.
And it's like
I could use a rainy
there's a number
day
of
jazz
tunes on that record.
playlist.
There's a number of tunes on that record that's just Brad and Pat. So it's just acoustic piano and acoustic guitar, or
like the Quiet Nights album.
I don't know that one.
I want to say it's just him on baritone guitar, and then it's like a nylon baritone thing, and then there's another one that's just him and Charlie Hayden, the bass player.
Yeah.
Fucking beautiful, man.
But
I
so
love
great.
Schofield,
man. I don't think I could answer that question.
Yeah, well, that's the whole
honestly.
point. I was trying to it's like choosing between your first favorite thing or your other first favorite thing.
Man, yeah. Like, dude, like you said, like
It's like,
Schofield's
my
bridge
wife or
pickup.
my child?
His tone and just that creamy, like, that just kind of upstroke thing he does, and
He's just got this like greasiness.
Yeah.
He sounds sloppy, but it's not.
Not at all.
But he's got this like sloppiness to it, this attack, and he's just got this certain time feel that is so unique to him. As if I know things can't be more or less or whatever unique. They're either unique or you can't be very one of a kind. You are either are or you aren't. I get that, and language people can suck it, but. It's just like a greasiness. I just don't know how else to describe.
It's like this. It's like this controlled chaos that it's like just seems that much more. Like I can't even wrap my head around it.
See, I don't hear it as chaos. I hear it as the most intentional. He's one of the most intentional players ever.
Let me backpedal a little bit. I didn't mean
Linda?
chaos in like in how he plays, or I'm sorry, in what he plays. More in like I was kind of more to your point about how it's like greasy but still very much in control. That's more or less what I was alluding to.
Okay,
yeah,
copy that.
Yeah. So no, I'm with you. We're on the same page there.
Yeah. So you're choosing Schofield. All right. David Lee Roth or Sammy Hagar? By the way, I don't want any deliberation. I just want the top of the head.
Okay,
We'll be here all night.
I'm gonna say David Lee Roth just per capita more.
Say no more.
Yeah.
Vi or Satriani?
Vi. I love Satriani.
That's the right choice. There's a right answer to that question.
Yeah. Vi was just inspirational on a unique level.
Yeah, because he's like great at the guitar and writing songs.
writing songs particularly. And I mean, better singer too, which isn't saying a whole lot.
But Joe Satriani reportedly taught Steve Vai how to play the guitar. So.
He did. He also taught Charlie Hunter.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
I don't know how far into his being Charlie Hunter he taught him, but probably once he started bringing in the...
Well, judged on the way that Charlie Hunter plays, not very far. But
Yeah.
it's like whitest dude alive or swankiest person from the southern United States.
Yeah.
I mean, Joe Satriani is the Moby of guitar playing physically.
Physically, yeah.
The Moby of guitar playing.
Speaking of Moby, I once saw him.
Somebody get this man some nutrition.
I once saw him flipping the bird at a cheesecake factory and calling them Nazis in Santa Monica one time. Just
I am still living with your ghost.
yeah. I mean, I can't give you any further context than that. I just witnessed that part of it, and I was like, okay, another day in Santa Monica. There you go.
Jesus Christ.
Swim out past the breakers. Leave the world behind. Or something like that. Anyway, that's Santa Monica by Everclear.
Yeah.
Dolly or Reba?
Oh.
To listen to. Not touch.
This may be unpopular, but I'm going to say Reba.
I don't have any problem with that.
I do love Dolly, though. I mean, who doesn't?
Yngwie or James Burton?
James Burton.
It's hard to pick between two of the most notorious assholes of all time.
Yeah. More is more, and
John Petrucci or Paul Gilbert?
Paul Gilbert.
I kind of figured that was coming after what you said earlier.
Yeah.
This is a typo,
Love
the
me some
question that I
Petrucci.
leave in here because I love it. And the question is Geddy Lee or Geddy Lee?
No deliberation, right? Geddy Lee.
Okay. Yeah. Right. Jazz or metal?
You know, I'm going to say metal just because I listen to a lot more of it. I identify with it a lot more. And again, because I sort of taught myself about music, I just never really ventured into jazz. It always intimidated me as a kid. I always revered it, and I still do. And there's still a lot more that I have yet to get into. But yeah, I was definitely more of a metalhead than a jazz guy.
I'm a huge metalhead in London as well. But we also love jazz, I would say, for me anyway, equally.
Yeah, that's awesome.
They're like completely different and amazing musical art forms.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Like polar opposites, essentially. Let's see. I'm sorry.
What do you got?
This one says hot or cold.
Cold?
That's the right answer. Live or session?
Oof. Session. I do a lot more live work, but I do love being in the studio. I just the opportunity for creativity to flow and to take chances, and it's hard. It's not. I mean,
You
live.
can still take chances live.
That's true. You can't. Well, depending on the gig,
encourage
I
it.
guess.
I do it. Maybe I shouldn't.
When I played for Eddie Money, he was very much like play like the record, stay within the box.
Yeah, you do what the artist asks for. I mean,
Exactly.
Advice to anyone that gets a gig: you always start at how the record goes, unless someone tells you otherwise.
Exactly.
You play it how it goes until you're told otherwise. That's unless it's your gig and you're saying how things go.
Right.
I don't know. It seems silly to have to say that, but
No, it needs
I play
to be,
way too many gigs with people who are like coming up with their own solo to hit me with your best shot. It's like, hey, hey, my name is Rob. I'm on this gig, and I just wanted to say that there's a pretty specific, iconic, one of the most iconic guitar solos ever in this song. So if you maybe have time to learn the 16 bars or whatever it is, that'd be great.
Or like, man,
we only play it once or twice a night.
Yeah. Or like Jesse's Girl, or God forbid, Don't Stop Believing. Just wail minor pentatonic.
any of the obvious stuff. It just goes to say, it's like, if somebody hires you, you take their music unless told otherwise, and you learn how it goes. If you are playing the bass, you learn the bass lines. And the bass, I would say, is actually a little different in that one thing that you kind of have to do with bass, especially depending on the artist and the size of the venue you're playing. Like if you're playing a giant venue, you have to simplify some stuff, or it's just going to come across as muddy in front of house when you're moving, 18 subs or something. It's like you just can't play the same way. It gets lost, and it you lose a definition of locking in with the kick drum. I don't care how good the front of house is. But like the whole point is, let's start at the record. Let's normalize learning songs, everybody.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
The question was Dolly or Reba.
And those are the ABCs of being a working musician.
To single coil or humbucker? This question forebodes.
Man, that's tough. I'm going to say single coil, though, just because if you have a single coil and you got a tone control, you can kind of fake humbucker.
Yeah, unless you can't have bad power.
Yeah. But a good humbucker, man, it just unbeatable. Like a vintage style PAF or a vintage one, whatever gets you there. That sounds really single coily, and it's where it's at.
But is there a compressor on that board?
Yeah, the Bogner Harlow.
Okay.
It's a boost / compressor. I dial it more for just a very
Martin's
transparent.
got one of those on his board, doesn't he?
No, not that I've seen. He's got, I don't know how many. He's got a Bogner Shiva amp. I don't know.
Yeah, but he used to have a Bogner pedal on his board. That's been 8 years ago.
Yeah, he probably still has.
Doesn't even matter.
Doesn't even matter.
You're using a Bogner Harlow.
It's got a Neve. It's got a little Neve transformer in it.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
that's dope.
To me, it just stacks really good. It's a nice just input signal boost.
So you're using it live then?
I use it live.
Okay, so the question was, do you use a compressor live? And I just wanted to know if there's one on your board, because if it's on your board, you probably use it live.
Yeah, I use it live, but I set it as transparently as I can. I don't like too squashy,
Do you know who John Paul Jones is?
Yes.
Okay.
Underrated.
I agree. I completely agree, in fact. What's your favorite pedal? Is it the Eddie boost drive? Moving on.
Yeah.
What's your favorite artist
It has
to listen
to be.
to?
Oh, man. God, it just depends on the day.
I want today's answer.
Okay, today, have you ever heard of a band called 3?
No.
So this is a band.
I've heard of a band called 4.
Have you?
Yeah.
Okay,
It's Nate Wood by himself on 4 instruments.
Okay. I don't know
I'm
why
serious.
it's hilarious to me. But
Please make a note to put a 4 video.
So, okay, you're familiar with the band Coheed and Cambria.
Yeah.
So Josh Eppard, the bass player,
Okay.
his brother, Joey Eppard, fronts the band 3. They're like relatively unknown compared to how popular they should be.
I did not know of them.
So Joey Eppard is a phenomenal singer, and he has a very distinct fingerstyle on guitar.
Oh, James Taylor. He's James Taylor.
He's James Taylor. Okay. But okay, I will say this. It's really hard to put 3 in a stylistic box, because every record sounds different, yet still sounds like them. One record will sound like just acoustic, like funk, but like really acoustic driven, like funk, like 90s funk. And then the one record will sound like folksy progressive metal. It's crazy how all over the place it is.
Do this.
The variety of it
if
is.
If somebody
wild.
wanted to listen to 3,
okay,
give me the record they should start with.
Half-Life.
So 3 Half-Life. Now give me 2 other Desert Island records.
Oh, you're gonna hit me with this one.
I want you to give me off the top of your head. If you would give me a different answer tomorrow, that's what I want.
Okay, good, because I probably would. All right, I'm
Good.
gonna say Boston, self-titled,
Okay.
and Planet X, live from Oz. It's a live record.
I know that one.
Yeah.
You're into Planet X, huh?
Dude, I was first hip to them by a high school buddy of mine whose dad was a drummer, big Virgil fan. So he burned me a copy of that record. I wore that CD out. I burnt it like 2 times over, and then I decided to just buy one. And they were hard to find back then. Like, I found it on eBay, bought it, somehow lost it, burnt it another time, and then bought another one, and then my car got stolen. So like
the universe is against Planet X and you.
But I've virtually memorized that record. I've never even attempted to play any of the songs on there, but just listening to it, like that part in Apocalypse BC, that's like where Virgil is just riding the hi-hat, just like 16th notes while going. Oh damn! I shouldn't be.
Hey, just put that anywhere.
Dude, you just tried to play the drums while holding a beer.
Hey, is that amp off?
Yeah, the amp's off.
Okay.
It's off.
First of all, it's empty.
I don't care.
It's definitely empty now.
So long as it's not Martin McDaniel and cold beer on a hot tube, I don't care. All right, so I have 2 questions left.
Okay, all right.
One is, I know you just gave me several albums, but now I'd like to give you to give me yet a different album of the week. It could be one of your favorite records. It could be something that you've been wearing out this week. No, let's make it something recent. What you been listening to?
Well, I've been revisiting this record.
Yeah, totally.
Bela Fleck, Live Art.
Yeah, great record.
Mm-hmm. That was a pivotal record for me, and it's super nostalgic.
Will
and
you
also
note that, please?
Right.
Bela Fleck Live Art. Great record. All the Bela Fleck records are great.
Oh, yeah.
All right, and the final question for my guest, the pride of Houston, Texas, Mr. Eddie Haddad, is you are in the King's Court, and the final question is now and will always be as is Oz. You have to choose between, for no particular reason other than absurdity in itself, Albert, BB, Freddie, Earl, Carol, King, or King's X.
Freddie
That's the right answer.
and King's X. Love you, Doug.
That's actually the double right, special right.
I hung out with Doug Pinnick once before. Super nice guy.
I saw King's X open for Dio there used to be this place in Dallas called Bronco Bowl, which is basically like a Brooklyn Bowl.
Yeah.
Except for they had the Bowl theater, big venue, and then they had a separate rock club. I saw Outkast and P-Funk in the Bowl separately, and then I saw King's X open for Dio in the rock club.
Wow.
And it was badass. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Eddie Haddad, dude, fist bump or something.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for coming and doing the podcast. As always, Linda McCarty twisting and tweaking.
Yeah, man.
If you have not already, I highly encourage you to follow us on whatever platforms you are listening and or watching. There's an Instagram link at the top of every show note. Click on that. Give us a follow. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please leave us a 5-star review. All the stuff that helps us to go to do more podcasts with more badass people like the pride of Houston Texans, as I already said earlier, Mr. Eddie Haddad.
Who also does lessons online, am I correct?
Oh, we didn't even talk about freaking Guitar Mastery Method.
Yeah, man. GuitarMasteryMethod.com or Guitar Mastery Method on YouTube. I'm one of the instructors on there. And
those links will be included for sure.
Yeah.
Check it out. Learn something. Get better. Stay hard. Keep jamming. Keep practicing. And we'll see you. Hey, thanks for listening to the Gear and Beer podcast. We would ask that you please be sure to tell your friends about the podcast. And if you haven't already, subscribe and follow our Instagram and YouTube channels, as well as liking and commenting on our posts. Are there guests you want to see on the podcast? Topics you want us to talk about or pieces of gear? Let us know.
All these kinds of things feed the algorithms in a positive way and help us gain more traction, whereby enabling us to continue to bring you ever-improving content and guests. Thanks again, Gearheads. We truly appreciate your support, and we'll see you back here soon for another episode of
Gear.